What if your story could ignite a movement? At New Solutions Network, we merge truth, resilience, and reinvention, fueling shows that cut past the noise and light up what really matters: human potential. Police, athletes, survivors, incarcerated folks, visionaries, we bring raw, real voices the world needs to hear. Want to share your story? Want to sponsor change? Now is the time. New Solutions Network, unlocking the future, one voice at a time.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Coach Kellz, founder of Project 201, our nonprofit organization where we provide mentorship through sports and life skills. Now, I'm going to take you on the journey of how I got here. So, dating back to I can remember, I'm from Jersey City, born and raised. Grew up in a very rough environment. But what I do remember from that environment was playing sports and my father and my parents, but my father taking us places, whether it was events, Six Flags, parks, lakes, just out on family vacation. We went camping. It was all the boys. Like I can remember my father making me call all my cousins up and pick us up, right? I played baseball, basketball, football. We played in the streets. We had so much fun. And these are a lot of the memories that I see nowadays are missing in the community. And the reason I say that is because I live for the past 15 years in between a high school and an elementary school. And it seems like we see less kids outside playing. So we fast forward to my father passing away. And I was about 29 and I was thinking to myself, I lost my job. I was let go. And I'm thinking to myself, there has to be more to life than just work. I watched my father work his whole life to buy a house. He retired, bought a house for the family. And maybe 3 years, not even 3 years, what am I talking about? 3 years after retirement, but only 2 months after buying the house, he passed away. So I'm looking at my family, I'm looking at everybody, and I'm just like, this can't be life. You work your whole life for your family, and then you don't even get to enjoy it. So I started to think about the things that I had passion for and I was skilled at, which was sports. So a few of my friends were like, you gotta start playing football, maybe go back to college. And I think about that now, about the mentorship we had in school, or even at that time that I made this decision to, you know what, I'm going to give up my college eligibility at 29 because I never went to college. We just thought about work. My era, it wasn't really sports. I was just telling the kids this the other day. My era was more just find a job. If you don't go to college, you better find a job. Sports wasn't really a big thing. So now, as I'm going through this search of how I'm gonna play football. And I found out you can do a regional combine. And I was able to do a regional combine at the Jets facility. And what stood out from that was long snapping. And I remember my father worked as a Union City firefighter, now North Hudson. He worked with Eric Winters. That was Frank Winters' brother. He was the center for the Green Bay Packers when Brett Favre was the quarterback. So back in high school, my father would always tell me, you should long snap. But who listens to their parents when they're kids, right? So I set up shop in my basement and I started teaching myself how to long snap. And that was the first time I went on YouTube University. And I found a video of this guy who, whether it was scripted or not, went to a school, found a guy in computer class who never played sports in his life. And he's like, hey, I want to take you outside. I want to teach you how to long snap. I want to make a video showing how easy it is. And when I seen this kid and me being an athlete, I was like, oh, I could do that. And I was like, oh, wow. I was shocked that, going on YouTube and just trying something new. Boom. Oh, this is working. So now I end up in the Jets facility blind, not knowing what's going on, just walking in because I'm a football fan. And I got to meet amazing people along that journey. And I'm 29 years old in the Jets facility, fresh out of Cablevision University. And that's a joke, I say, because I worked at Cablevision from 2005 to 2010 or 11. And I'm competing with high school athletes, college athletes, men, young men that been doing this their whole life. And here I come, 29 years old, out of shape, just been training on my own. And my numbers were not good, if anybody's wondering. But just getting out there and being able to step on that field with any type of confidence, right? And that confidence came from being a kid and watching my father and my uncles in all types of situations that they were in and really learning from them. And the reason I keep going back to those situations is after my journey to try to make it to the NFL, I ended up getting to do a few combines, Canadian. I did the first ever rugby combine in Minneapolis, which was another amazing experience. But during that time, I ended up injuring myself and I hurt my back. And I'm like, wow, one of my dreams of making it to the NFL at that time, there's no way I could do this. I'm 31, 32, just hurt my back. But I looked up on my ceiling and I seen I had two cards on my window. I had two cards from the NFL. I said, let me give them a call. So I gave them a call, told them how passionate I was about football, that I would hand out Gatorade bottles on the sideline just to be a part of that team, to get my foot in the door, to showcase, my talent and my love for what I do. Because all my life of working up until that point, no matter how good I was at work, never really made me advance at that job. So I took a shot, made a call. She patched me through to David Coleman. Shout out to David Coleman. At the time, he was the head of the NFL referees. And I'll never forget this. He spoke to me for about 45 minutes on the phone. And he said, Sean, it was a pleasure speaking with you and we'll be in touch. So I'm like, yeah, okay, right? 2 days later, I had an email from him and the NFL. I had a flight itinerary. I was going to Maryland to the Tom Beard Clinic, and shout out to all the NFL officials and anybody that was at the Tom Beard Clinic. I believe it was 2014, 15. I'm not 100% sure. But that was an amazing experience on its own because I got to meet a lot of people that were in a different class of life than I grew up in, than I was around. It kind of opened my eyes because everybody had real estate, everybody had their own business, and it kind of started opening my eyes up more. So now I get back from the Tom Beard Clinic and I get a job working in the high school as a teacher aide, with the Board of Ed, as a teacher aide, one-on-one with the special needs kids. And that's where I always knew I was good with kids, but that's where I kind of knew, like, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? So I start working as a one-on-one aide with one child, 5th grade, and I loved it. And I was blown away by the kid, right? And I read the IEP and I was just like, it doesn't make sense. Nobody listened to me. I didn't have 60 college credits. I wasn't a certified teacher. I was just there to restrain kids technically. But since I had a gift, I started to move around through the Board of Ed, ended up with a 1st grader. Now this story right here is one of my favorites. Shout out to that family. I'm working with a 1st grader, but in this one particular elementary school, we had more autistic kids than the other schools. So I would get called once in a while to go to another classroom to help restrain or assist. And I don't like to restrain these kids, so I did my method a little differently. Sometimes you had to restrain them, but I usually took them for a walk, went upstairs, went to the gym. We did something other than restraining these kids. But so in the mix of doing that, when I would go into this classroom, one of the kids in the back, who was a severe autistic child who didn't speak and was violent, he smiled when I came in the classroom. I didn't notice it at first, but the teacher started to notice it and started to ask me when I came in if I could say hi to the kid. Of course, that's what I do. And being an athlete growing up, you want to showcase your talents, right? So you can get a better position and move on up, whatever. So now I was asked to work the bus with him. I get to meet the family. And now the school's like, hey, Sean, why don't you do us a favor? Would you sit front row during graduation? Because this kid really likes you and we want him to get through his graduation. Sure, no doubt. I'll do it. And after that, I became his aide and went to the high school with him and started to enjoy the high school, the different sports, right? I was like, oh man, maybe I could coach. Now I'm working with the kid, and I started to notice that the teacher would never sit with us because a lot of teachers were scared of this child. He even bit me one time, right? That's how severe this kid was. But he was a good kid. He did a lot of the same work. So I would act out too if I couldn't speak. But that's a whole nother story. So now I'm noticing the teacher is sitting in these meetings with the parents, talking about the kids. And I'm going, I don't have to go back to school for this. Like, I'm working with the kid. We doing this. I'm learning. I'm self-educating. The next year comes, I end up getting onto the police academy. I get certified to become a correctional officer, right? And I'm telling the story in exactly the timeline it happened. So that summer break, I get the letter, boom. Now I got to leave the school. So I'm like, finally, a job, a career, right? I've been taking the police test my whole life. I always wanted to be a cop. Unfortunately, at the time, I had to take the corrections, but I was 35. I had to take whatever was coming. So I become a correctional officer, right? The career, the blue collar, finally, I get my pension. And I'm going through the police academy, and I enjoyed it. But when I got to the jail, it was just a job to me. I'll be honest. I was just working my pension. I did my job, right? I tried to be the same person I am now. When I was in the jail with the inmates, as long as there was, respect, for the most part, I had it. We would do what we can, there's certain things we can't do. So I ended up getting hurt on the job during COVID. I'll never forget it. Everybody was locked in. We had to go door to door. And if anybody don't know, I work for the Hudson County Department of Corrections, correctional officer during the time when the world was shut down. And I was on the max tier. And I'll never forget it because everybody was locked down. They were having many riots, scares, and hunger strikes and all this stuff because people weren't getting visits and, people were losing their lives. It's a wild time to live in. And I'll never forget, everybody was on high alert. So we would have to go door to door during medication. Now remember, one door don't click. All my correctional officers out there, when that door don't click, they either, put something there to jam it. Some of the doors are old. You got to push it shut. So when I didn't hear it click, I turned around and I felt a pop. I didn't think nothing of it. I kept doing my thing, and it just kept nagging me. So I ended up finding out I broke my finger and tore my flexor tendon. So now I'm out. I've been playing sports my whole life. I played flag football. We ran a flag football team. Softball. We're out there practicing baseball like we're ever gonna make the MLB. But we just love sports, so that's what we do. Like maybe that's our therapy, right? Thinking back on it now, that was my therapy, especially after my father passed away. So now I get hurt, and all of that was stripped of me because now you're injured on the job. You can't be caught doing anything. So now I'm going, man, I need to find something to do. So I started going to the park, taking walks, taking drives, meeting up with my cousins and their kids, just, enjoying the days that I had because when you get injured on a job, I don't know if there's too many people that are watching that are correctional officers or police officers. I can only speak for my department where I worked, but it's not much love in that field because it's very negative and you deal with a lot of negative people. So it does rub off on a lot of people. I understand that now. So during that time, we're supposed to be family, brother. You know, we go to a police academy and this is all you hear, all you hear, all you hear. And in the time when I'm out, I have a gift. And a lot of officers would call me up and ask me certain questions about the situations and their situations. And it was just mind blowing to me. And I had to find something to do to take my mind off of this. I'm about to have surgery. And I ended up having a surgery that went bad. October 22nd, 2021, I woke up at a surgery and just knew something was wrong. So now I'm dealing with that. Am I ever going to be able to use my hand again? If anybody watching this that knows me, I have the best hands on the East Coast. And I say that because Jerry Rice is on the West Coast, okay? But I'm thinking, man, I had back surgery. I was able to get over that. But this arm surgery, that's my right hand. That's my dominant hand. I still, to this day, right, have a lot of issues with it. Keeping it up here, it's a lot of things. But we ain't going to complain about it. We're men. We got to keep moving. So while I'm dealing with this issue, am I going to get another surgery? Am I not going to get another surgery? I ended up getting 2 more surgeries. And one of my family friends was on Facebook asking for a ride home from work. She, couldn't afford Uber. And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting paid. Let me hit her up and see if she needs a ride. That I'll pick her up. Little did I know that was going to be my therapy and the start of 201 Sports and what is now Project 201. Talking about it now is really taking me back on the ride. Shout out to Tracy Rutan, Donnie Rutan, Gavin Rutan, the entire Rutan family. I'll never forget this. It was about an hour drive. Both ways, from me getting there and then back. So it was a lot of time thinking. And that's when I do my best thinking is in the car. So on the way back, we would just talk. I was kind of talking about what I wanted to do and as a coach. And I guess I just talk like a coach anyway because I love sports. So one Saturday morning, I don't remember if she voice note me or she called me, but I remember her waking up and telling me, listen, me and Donnie think you should mentor, work out, or train with Gavin, because prior to the pandemic, he was a Golden Gloves boxer. And like a lot of us during that time, the world shut down and it took a lot of people's lives away. So I'm like, I'm down, I'm in. I love sports. Let's get it. So me and Gavin, shout out Gavin, we start training. We go down Liberty State Park. And we start training, and that's when 201 Sports was born. I came up with the name. I was nervous. I don't know if anybody's ever started a business before or a name, and you don't have no guidance, and you don't know. It's just like new. You don't know what's gonna happen. Is somebody gonna like this and not like this? And especially in the hoods that we grow up in, there's a lot of insecurities that go on with all of us, especially now with the social media and everything. So fast forward to I put together a Facebook event, a wiffle ball game. And I got about 30 something people down there. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And the park guy comes over and says, you can't be here. It's too many people. This is an event. And I'm like, oh, wow, we're just all family. I just put together this Facebook event because I had an idea. I didn't think this many people would come, but it's all family and friends. We're not making no money. But that was the day I realized I have to do this right. I have to do this right. I have to find out what we have to do to get the permits, the business, all of that. So now I'm on Facebook. I'm reaching out to people. I'm just looking around because I wasn't savvy on the internet. I didn't go on the computer. And I reached out to a few people. Shout out to my girl Morris. She helped me start 201 Sports in her Jeep Cherokee. She was pregnant with one of her children, and she showed me how to form a LLC. So shout out to Morris. And that was 201 Sports was done. And I'm thinking I'm doing a nonprofit. So we started to do toy drives. We started to invest our time in the community. I'm working with a lot of different people, churches, different organizations. Now I'm self-educating myself, and I went back to Rutgers Continued Education Program to become a behaviorist. So I'm watching a lot of things go on when I was in that jail and the people I talked to. So now, during that time, that I'm out with my surgeries. Now, mind you, I had one surgery and it took about 9 months to have that surgery. Then I was out almost another year before I had 2 more surgeries on my arm. So I'm out of work, you could say almost 2.5 years. And I'm just, instead of just sitting home, I was blessed that God took a hold of me, right? So fast forward after that wiffle ball tournament, July 31st, we're down the park, and I meet a few kids. Isaiah and Bishop. Shout out to Isaiah and Bishop. I want to do this right? We said this at the event. We want to do this right. So now I got to come up with waivers. I'm a white guy. I'm a police officer. Now correctional police officers, right? We all have the same jurisdiction. But I'm an officer doing community work in the hood, right? So I'm telling these kids, I'm like, listen, we have to have waivers. Your parents have to sign these. We got to make sure that we do this right. I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to get in trouble. I really want to help kids speed train at the time. It was like speed and conditioning training, right? We're working with kids on the field since I was playing football. And one of the kids goes to me, Coach, I don't have a mom and dad. And I was just like, phew. No doubt. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about, I don't know, get this to your brother. Who's your guardian? Your grandmother? Boom. Right then and there, that kid was a stud. And I knew that that was just my calling. And that's when Project 201 was born, but I didn't even know it yet. Because now I was helping this kid. It became from sports fundamentals because he was really good in football and basketball. He was having a lot of college scouts look at him. So I started investing my time into meeting coaches, everything. And I said to myself, we have to help these kids and guide them through these processes because a lot of them are doing it on their own or they're doing it on their coaches' times. And there's a lot of kids out there that need help that don't have a father figure in their life, let alone a mother figure, because nowadays we all got to be out working, especially in the environments that we're in. So now I'm getting to meet and be invested and see boots on the ground with the kids. So now I go back to work into the jail with a different mentality, a different mindset. I was a different person when I went back into jail. So now I'm back in the jail. And like I said, I have a gift where people just tell me things. And I'm not sitting here going to tell you that I believe everything and every inmate and every person. I don't believe everybody. You know, you could tell, especially if you're in the field or you grew up in the area, you could just tell when people are blowing smoke, you know, like not being real or fake or whatever. So I would have inmates telling me they don't have this, they don't have that, they're not getting their rec, they're not getting this. So I got tired and I didn't want to have to check other officers, because when you try to help and educate another officer that may be doing something wrong, they justify it or you get into an argument. So I don't got time for that. My focus is Project 201. So one day I said to the officer, you see this right here? This says from 6 to 9, they come out. And then we had a problem, right? So I met a few more kids in there. I met a 21-year-old and a 51-year-old. Kelly, did I ruin my life? All these stories. I'm like, how old are you? He's like 21. Shout out to Castro too. I see you. When I talk to a lot of these men in there, whether 51, 72, 18, it's all the same story. Kelly, I ain't had my dad growing up, so I was just in the streets. Kelly, I ain't had nobody at the crib. I could promise you 99.9%. It was one dude I asked that was like, yo, Kelly, I had both parents and I just wanted to be in the street. One. And it just blew my mind, right, to how what I had growing up, I can't even fathom not growing up having the childhood that I have. No, my parents didn't have all the money, but what we did have was great childhood memories. We got to be kids. We didn't have to worry about adult problems. We got to go to the schoolyard after school. We got to go to the park. We played manhunt. We were outside, right? It wasn't always pay to play. Everything wasn't pay to play. Kids get left out. So a lot of kids are on the street because they can't afford to pay to play. So one day I was going through my own struggles, and I was at my cousin Jen's house. Shout out Jen. And one day I was just like, Project 201. She was like, what? I was like, Project 201. That's going to be the name of the nonprofit. And, you know, probably nobody ever believes you when you say stuff, but now that I'm here, I understand God was guiding me the whole way. So check this out. I'm in the sauna at LA Fitness, and I'm preaching now because I'm like, we got to bring men back. We got to start, each one teach one. We got to start talking to each other. Like, we got to bring back community. And I'm just talking my talk in the sauna, and this one guy, I never forget, Bobby. I got him in my phone as Bobby Rucker's Law. I don't know if he worked there, went there, knew somebody there, have no clue. He's like, yo, give me your number. I like what you're doing. I don't know, a couple of days later, he hits me up. Call this number. Rucker's Law is going to help you do your paperwork. I was, what? Call this number. Rucker. All right. I can't afford this. How? Rutgers Law at the time, I don't know if they still have it, but their law department, they were doing nonprofit paperwork in class, so they needed organizations that wanted to file to come on board. And I'm talking about it now, thinking about it now, it's wild. Never question anything in life. Just try to learn from it. So I got to have about 6 months, and it was only one day here, but I got to sit with Rutgers Law and the student and go over bylaws and a lot of stuff, the do's and don'ts and the red flags of nonprofits. I'm not going to sit here and say I know it all because I don't. I'm really learning a lot, have learned a lot, still learning. But shout out to Bobby Law, wherever you are, man. I appreciate you, because if it wasn't for you, I don't even know if we'd be sitting in this seat right now. But yeah, that was Project 201 was born. We got it, I believe it was March of 2022. We became official. And that's when I hit the streets. I remember going to the Hudson County Commissioners meeting and introducing myself to all of the commissioners, letting them know who I am, what we do, where I work, where I'm from, what we invested back into the community of Hudson County and the youth. So then I started to meet a lot of organizations and work with them or work through them, because I was still trying to find out or figure out how to get grant money. So that's when I started to become the behavioralist and doing ethics of trauma, trauma-informed, youth suicide prevention. We did a lot of classes. And then I started working with kids one-on-one in the juvenile justice system through an organization. And these kids, I thought all these kids were on the bracelet. That's what I thought. All these kids, I thought were on the bracelet. So I'm going to tell a few stories because I could tell a couple and it will be here all day. But I remember working with these kids who I thought were all on the bracelet. So the first one I worked with, again, me not knowing my gift at the time, but now that I'm sitting here telling this, it's like, wow, this is mind blowing. I'm going to say his name. His name was Lewis, but I ain't going to give his last name because I don't even remember it. But Lewis, 7 years old, North Bergen, Hudson County, Jersey City, Bayonne. I had kids from all over. This kid didn't speak English. And they were like, hey, coach, this kid doesn't speak English. He understands it because he's in public school system, but he doesn't really speak it. So I'm thinking in my head, like, yo, he probably don't speak it to you. He spoke broken English, but after the first meeting, I had to let them know. The family had to let them know. They wanted to move him. The organization wanted to move him because I wasn't bilingual, but the kid didn't want to have it. So the kid stays with me. And right there, I fell in love with the mentorship because it blew my mind that you can send a random person because they filled out for this job or you know them, whatever, and send them. So I would go to the client's house and just they would just send their kid out. They would get in my car and we would go somewhere for 3 hours. So now I'm talking to these kids about what are they doing for 3 hours with these therapists? What are they doing for 3 hours with these other mentors? What is going on? Because the sheet that I read and the family and kid that I meet has yet to match. So we have another kid. He's on a bracelet. If this doesn't work with me, he's going to 6 months at-a-home program. I thought we were doing amazing. They moved him from me to another mentor. I reached out to the father and found out that he ended up in a program. Okay, now I'm digging a little deeper because I'm like, what's going on here? Like, blowing my mind. I don't even have kids yet, but I couldn't even imagine this stuff. And let's be mindful, I'm not thinking this yet, but it's foreigners and the African-American community, right? So now we'll fast forward to the last story. One kid, 12 years old, 3 shootings. No, this should not be happening. All right, there should be enough programs going on. See, now we're going to rant, but there should be enough programs going on for all of these kids to be pulled into the direction that they need to go. So now I'm going home and I'm telling all of my people that I talk to what I'm seeing. And, you know, they're looking at me like, come on, Kellz. Every kid, like, come on, you're not a bad kid. I'm like, listen, I worked in the school system. I've been working in a jail. I'm going in these homes now, meeting the families. Not saying these kids aren't a pain in the butt, right? So I said to my lady, one of my board members, and she's bilingual, I said, listen, this is like the 10th kid I've got, and I've been telling you this. Can you please come with me to the house and you tell me if I'm overreacting or if maybe I'm not seeing something and maybe I'm just, going a little too hard with my passion? You let me know. So we go to the house. Within 5 minutes, I could feel her looking at me like, wonderful family. This is the story we get. The kid is very high functioning. He's very hyper. He doesn't sit down in class. He doesn't do his work. And if this doesn't work with the mentor, he will be put in a 9-month out-of-home program. I'm like, okay, so we meet the family. The sister has cancer. The family told them they were coming on vacation here. They moved from a different country to come here to live in, a small apartment. Now this kid's sister has cancer. So me and my board member, we take the kid out, and within 5 minutes, we find out that every time he's not around his sister, he thinks she's going to pass away. Right? Every time. So maybe here's a reason he keeps standing up in class, or he's fidgeting or something's going on, right? They tell me that this kid isn't that smart, but he learned English within not even a year, right? And then we took him to a function where we were doing a toy drive, and this kid was the most helpful. Listen, mind-blowing to me. Shout out to those kids because they're still in our lives. They're still with Project 201. But with the one kid with the 3 shootings, I decided to say, you know what, I got to step up and do something with Project 201. So I asked the family, I said, do you have any like male role models around that could go to court with you? And they said no. So I said, would you like me to come with you? I won't get paid. I will come as Project 201 and Coach Kellz and everything I'm trying to do, and I'll support. And I went there and introduced myself to the judge, introduced myself to the court, whoever was in there. And afterwards, I was called and told I couldn't do that. I even had to sign a paper saying that I wouldn't talk about Project 201 to these families. So after that, I stopped working with those organizations and getting paid for it. And I said that day, I will not stop until I build Project 201 the right way, build it on people who want to help the community and help the youth, right? I understand, I hear a lot of people saying, well, somebody got to get paid for this. Well, we understand that people are going to get paid, but they're going to get paid to do the job and do the job right? Because we're out here leading the next generation of youth. So now, I don't even remember how, but I got into the Youth Service Commission. I'm still in the Youth Service Commission in Hudson County. So I sit at the table with all these organizations, you know, that are getting funding so I can meet different people, different organizations. And I'm just seeing the politics of it. And I didn't like it. So I just continued to put on the events that we were doing, trying to raise the awareness we were raising so we can run the programs we see fit for the youth. So when we go to court with this kid a second time, because he's going to get his bracelet off, this story right here, I can't fathom. So the kid gets his bracelet off. The judge asks me if I could take the kid home to get the charger. We walk outside. There's about 100 kids outside waiting for this kid. We had to have a police escort from the house, from the courthouse to his house and back. And the whole experience was just mind-blowing, because if we could have those same 100 kids at the field, I'm like, I promise you we can change this whole community. So a lot of things that I saw, I just couldn't fathom, with all the funding that's out there, all the people fighting over the funding to do the work. So I just kept doing what I thought in my gut was the right thing to do. So we just kept building. And the purpose of Project 201 is to provide free play for the youth. And when I say free play, I mean whether it's baseball, basketball, football, we find out what these kids can't afford to do, can afford to do. We find out what they want to do, what they don't want to do. And we all know that some kids got to be pushed in certain directions to do some things. But the mentorship has to be there, right? In the world we live in today, we need more big brothers and big sisters and moms. I have grown men that I talk to through my flag football days that thanked me for having them on the team, because I actually wanted to see them play. And I'm thinking in my head like, man, I couldn't fathom that. Right? I know my parents didn't do everything me and my sister maybe wanted, right? Maybe we didn't have certain relationships or certain things that we wanted. But I can tell you what we did have. We were always told to enjoy our childhood. We were never forced to work as kids. Any problems my parents or our parents went through, we didn't have to deal with them. Of course we saw our parents fighting, right? Who hasn't saw their parents fighting? But I think about all the trips that we went on, you know, with my pops. I think about all the places, and not just places like Baseball Hall of Fame, right? Education, right? If you did something wrong, if he's seen something in the streets, like we were driving in a car, and we grew up by Curry Woods in Jersey City. And I'll never forget this moment. But we were driving in a car, and he stopped because somebody was getting jack for their bike. And this was probably in the early 90s. And he stopped, and just by screaming, hey, knock it off, the kids got up and left the kid alone, ran off. The kid got off on his bike and made it home. So when I think back to what I'm doing things now, and a lot of homes didn't have that. So a lot of people don't know how to act like that. And I saw that in the jail big time. I saw that in the school system big time. And I just want to be a part of helping this next generation who, as kids, I feel they want somebody to pay attention, right? They go home to nothing. They go home to the phone, and they're on it all the time, and it bothers me. So I'm working in the youth center, Great Falls Youth Center. We're running some programs over at the Great Falls Youth Center. Starting Monday, June 30th, we'll be running a sports program in Patterson at the Great Falls Youth Center. We'll be running a sports program for the summer, Monday through Friday, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Check us out. You could follow us on @Project201INC on Instagram. And yeah, man, listen, anybody that wants to help us, anybody wants to be a part of building this grassroots foundation, think of us as a big brother, big sister program, right? We want to take the kids on field trips. This past April, we took 100 families to, not 100 families, but 100 people in total, it was kids and families, to the Mets game. Shout out the New York Mets. They donated, the past 3 years, they've been donating tickets for us to be able to take some families out. Next year, I want to be able to take some families out and be able to get them a hot dog, a cheeseburger, a soda, because I was thinking about it this year. Man, we got 100, even if we got 50 kids out to the game, we got them out to the game and they could just sit there and watch the game. So now next year, I want to get 150 kids out to the game, get them some food, let them have some fun, enjoy the game, not just sit there watching everybody else. Just things we're learning as we go. So if you want to donate anything, I don't care what it is, we're going to make sure kids get Nikes if they need them, if they need basketball sneakers, if they need socks, if they need underwear, right? Some kids are upset at school because of the lack of that stuff, right? I had a kid tell me one time, I say, hey, yo, what can we do for you? He said, man, my mom really needs a car so we could go places. I said, I can't get you a car, but maybe we can help your mom get something, maybe to get a car. Maybe one day we'll have the money to help families get a car. Who knows? Maybe a dealership. Who knows? But the last thing I really want to say here, because I've been thinking about this too, is the kids need love. People need love, even the adults. We think some adults turn 18, 25. Some people don't mature till they're 35, right? Because they didn't have a childhood. So we see a lot of people walking around damaged with a lot of trauma. I learned this is one thing I did learn, and I'm happy that I took the class. A lot of our insecurities and trauma, they come from something that happened to us as a child. And if we're not able to go back and self-reflect on that trauma or talk about that trauma with that person that maybe caused that trauma, until you're able to do that, that trauma is always going to live with you. And another thing that struck me, they said, when things happen to you as a child, right? And I'm no expert. These are just some of the things that I took bits and pieces as I was taking these classes, is when you're 5, 6, 7, right? We some of us don't even remember those times. But when something traumatic happens to you, at that, it gets implemented right there, and it stays there. Like our brains are a hard drive, and things just come in. So things we might not remember, right, happening, and something in the real world will trigger that. So we have to all do better at giving each other love, respect, and time and patience. Follow Project 201. It's your boy, Coach Kellz. Shout out to New Solutions Network, Organized Minds, Bravery Studio, Natanya, Marvin. everybody behind the scenes, I appreciate you. Much love, Project 201 and the team.